All right. Well, we're live, at least on YouTube. And let's get right into it, guys. This is actually really kind of a special episode of the Stallone Podcast Network because this is the first time we've kind of done an episode with the three of us that we're not talking about a Stallone film, like a Stallone review. This is kind of our first roundtable discussion about Sly the Man, and particularly about his recent out of the nowhere interview with Variety magazine. This interview with Variety, tell me, guys, did it just drop into your lap like it dropped into mine? Like, did anyone even know this was coming, that he was doing this, or thoughts?
No.
Brand new information. It was. I didn't know he was doing it, and I don't know what was more of a shock. That first of all, everybody was blasting it all over our pages, and then like after reading through the interview, I'm like, there's so much, just like headline crap that he was disclosing, going all the way back to Rocky and how like he's bitter about not having any stake in the Rocky stuff. Like, where the hell did that come from?
That was the most shocking too, and it almost signals that is more a response to maybe, possibly whatever his current financial situation is. And I'm not going to speculate about any of that, but it's amazing that it took 40 plus years for that to come out. I mean, we've all heard the myth or the exaggerated story about how Stallone stuck to his gun so he could at least even play the character, which is a huge victory. But then to sort of come 40 years later and say, well, I should have had a piece of it as well, Well, Chuck Wepner would have liked to have a piece of it too. But you know what? In 1975 or whatever, $6,500 or whatever it was a nice chunk of change for a movie that you had no idea would become this iconic, pop culture phenomenon.
Wow, you guys just threw a lot down very quickly. And actually, boy,
isn't that what we're doing here?
Yeah. Well, let's okay. I'm not, how should I say this? I'm not an apologist for Stallone and in any way, shape, or form. But let's talk about first the interview, and we're talking about his stakes. Now, it's my understanding that he doesn't own the property to Rocky. Okay,
so he couldn't go and make a Rocky movie without, I guess, whatever studio currently owns those rights.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. So that's my understanding, is he doesn't own an actual stake in the franchise. Like, meaning like he can't just go create Rocky toys, Rocky paraphernalia. He's owned by MGM, so the character is owned by MGM, is my understanding.
And he couldn't make a Rocky movie.
Well, okay, let's just talk about that. Let's talk about his Rocky 7 idea, because before we get into what Rocky 7 is about, Doug, calm down. Before we get into Rocky 7 itself, he has his own production company called Balboa Productions, which I believe has been a part of the production of Rambo 5.
Yeah, and didn't they produce some of the TV stuff he did? Like, wasn't like The Contender one of their first things?
Contender.
Yeah.
I think that that other show he produced, The Beastmaster.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever. I think that was under Balboa as well.
He wanted to be the Blumhouse of action movies.
I don't know what the hell he wants, to be perfectly honest.
Okay.
We're so far off the rails, Ryan.
No, this is fine. There's so much to talk about, and we didn't, this is kind of like an emergency meeting of the minds here, because this Friday, okay, I will admit, when I read this Variety interview, there was a part of me that felt, I don't know if sad's the right word, but kind of like, why did he have to say what he had to say? Because I know it's going to upset a lot of people who are just the poor working class, like me, in the sense of like, I don't have $400 million net worth. I don't know if you guys have a $400 million net worth. But to be fair, he's earned that. Like, entertainment or any business is supply and demand. If people want to see or hear or watch or listen to your product, they will. If they don't, they won't. And he has produced throughout his 40 plus year career a product through either through movies or films or art or whatever he's done, TV. He's made money. He's made money off that, and all the more power to him. There is no shame in being rich. And this is not about shaming the rich or saying the rich shouldn't get more rich. It's not about that. I think if I were to be a semi-apologist for Stallone, is I think he said it too in the interview, in the Variety magazine interview, and I encourage everyone to read that anyways, that he was naive about how the business worked, that he didn't know what he may have been giving away when he produced or gave Rocky to MGM. So is it wrong for him to be upset? I don't know. Am I
I mean, that's pretty much how the industry works. I mean, very few creative types in Hollywood own I mean, they get points, right? Like Tom Cruise probably gets a certain percentage of how well Mission Impossible does, but Tom Cruise doesn't own Mission Impossible.
Right.
So, I mean, it's understandable that Sly might be sort of sour about the amount of the percentage, or
yeah,
I
but
mean,
Tom Cruise didn't. But Tom Cruise didn't create Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to me like that's the way it works. But the other thing that raises an interesting question, Ryan, like, could MGM have made Creed without Stallone and his blessing?
I think they could have made Creed without Rocky, and then Creed wouldn't have made a Creed Part 2. And the Creed franchise would not have survived without the Rocky character. So blessing, maybe, but they threw money at Stallone, sure. They said, hey, let's get your character out of retirement. And Stallone probably, especially for Creed Part 1, legitimately probably liked this script and liked the idea of what it brought. But it's about money. Look, it's okay. He's allowed to make money, and he got money off Creed 1. I don't know how he. I got to be careful here. I wonder how he feels about Creed 2.
Look, I don't want you to be careful, Ryan, because I'm not about to be careful when I say that I think Stallone is throwing out these nuggets to keep himself and Rocky relevant. Because, like, by all intents and purposes, the Rocky character has seen his last moment on film.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And it's like he doesn't want to let that go when he should let it go. The Rocky saga was closed out perfectly in Rocky Balboa. The Rocky character was closed out perfectly at the end of Creed 2. End it.
So now he's being a teasel with it.
Yeah, that's what I think it is. That's what I think it is. And he knows such venomous Rocky, not venomous, that's not the right word, but such loyal and excited Rocky fans out there that if he throws out just the littlest nugget, that they are going to sink their teeth into it and say, oh, Rocky 7's coming, what's it going to be about, what are they going to call it, what's the title going to be, oh, Creed 3, is Creed 3 coming, is Rocky going to be in it? He's like getting the conversation going again, and I think he's doing it just to keep Rocky in everybody's forefront.
But I mean, how much? I mean, he's got, prior to Creed, he had so many irons in the fire that didn't involve Rocky. He had the success, the Expendables series, which was successful enough to warrant 3 movies and talk of a 4th. He's got the Escape Plan franchise now at this point, which was pre-Creed, the first Escape Plan. So it's not like he was slowly being forgotten and not giving opportunities in Hollywood. You know, I mean, until Creed, he wasn't talking about Rocky at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did have these other projects going on. And now maybe because Last Blood means Last Blood, and now the Rambo character's gone too.
Okay.
No, sorry, Ryan.
No,
sorry, Ryan. We're not letting you talk. Apologies.
No, stop it.
I'm just kidding.
No, that's good. No, I appreciate it. No, this is good, and I'm torn too. I feel what you're feeling, like what you're expressing and what you're feeling is valid and legit, and I get it. And you know, and there's a part of me that's angry in a weird way at Sly for not doing this kind of maybe go get you behavior 20 years ago. I don't know what he was waiting for when he was in his 50s and 60s. 73, you're getting up there. There's just, I don't care if you're Stallone or if you're the most gorgeous model today when you're 20, one day that model will be 20. You know, his daughters will one day be 73. If they're lucky, you know, they'll get to that age. So we all have to age. And so you have to decide, you know, like whatever business you're in or career you're in, you know, your body and your mind can only do so much for so long. And he started this Balboa Productions. Looks like he's trying to make it like the action version of Blumhouse and pass on knowledge to other young maybe directors and moviegoers, which is great that he's trying to pass his legacy on through that and create a more of a nest egg for his family. I guess for Rocky VII, and Doug, I agree with you, Rocky Balboa ended the Rocky character wonderfully. And there's a lot of people, and now I'm starting to lean towards the Creed films as well, being a separate franchise with the Rocky character that happens to be in there. That some people call it, Rocky, officially call it kind of Rocky 7 and 8, and I've done that. But now with the talk of Rocky 7, I think I have a theory, and won't say anyone's names or anything, but we have a theory that you guys may or may not agree with, that his time with the Creed 2 film might not have been a positive experience for him, and maybe Rocky 7 is his way of saying, I'm taking control of the character back for one more round. I don't know. It's a theory. And like you guys were saying, maybe he really is just talking about the character that he loves, that he's just talking about the thing that made him famous. Sure, and he knows what we know. He's not an idiot. He knows that the Rocky character, then the Rambo character, this is bread and butter. I don't know.
So you think there might still be stuff in the basement?
Oh, stop it!
Well, we know he's not going to fight. This would officially be the first Rocky film if it actually is a Rocky 7.
Then it's not a Rocky film. It's not, because in every Rocky film, Rocky took the ring.
Good point.
I understand, but also from day one, he's always said that Rocky, and this is from Stallone's mouth, is not about boxing.
Yeah, but that's kind of a flashy phrase or anything. Yeah, I mean, nobody could argue that the importance of Rocky is because it's a boxing movie. It's the love story between him and Adrian, but it's an integral part of that series. And I think Doug's point is right. I mean, that's a key ingredient. That's like making chocolate chip cookies without the chocolate chips.
Okay, so Rocky 7. Let's say if Rocky 7 happens as he's proposed, are you guys not watching it? Like, what's going on here? You're upset. I mean, not upset really, but you're not wanting this or hoping this almost doesn't kind of happen. Hasn't Stallone kind of just keep surprising us with these projects? Would you consider that this might surprise you? This is like No Country for Old Men version of Rocky?
Do you want to break down the synopsis of this, and then we'll go off of that instead of just saying it's another Rocky movie?
I do have his own words somewhere about it. Let me just find it real quick. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay. Just give me 1 second here, guys.
I don't want to leave too much dead air, but I mean,
keep going.
I'm saying if you're going to say we're making Rocky 7, tell me what it's about, and then that's where we can make our educated discussion off of, because I mean, yeah,
okay,
I found it. I see Rocky 7. So
okay,
let's hear what is this gem going to be about?
Oh, gee. All right, there. Holster your weapon, there, big guns.
Are we having our first fight?
No, you'll beat me up. Don't worry. Okay. So according to Stallone, in his own words, the synopsis is this. Now, I feel like he might be spitballing, but at the same time, I think this is a story that he's had germinate for a little while. Again, all three of us know people, we won't say their names, that have worked with Sly and what have you, and we know this story actually has officially been in his mind for a little while. So it's enough that it's not something he's just throwing out to the masses, but he's made it public now. And he says that Rocky meets a young, angry person who got stuck in this country when he comes to see his sister. Rocky takes him into his life, and an unbelievable adventure begins. They wind up south of the border. It's very, very timely. Do you tell someone that you just met in the street who's struggling and homeless to get out, or do you take him in? And if you take him in, you're going to find yourself in trouble. Doug?
Wait, so even in that, it doesn't say that the kid's a fighter, but I'm guessing we can assume that the kid's a fighter. Takes him under his wing.
Right.
I mean, so he's training a younger, angry fighter. Where have I heard this story before?
Sounds a lot like me.
Creed 1.
Why is he angry? Because he's Mexican?
Who the hell knows?
He doesn't say that
Probably.
he's angry. He doesn't say that he's angry. Look, to be fair, he doesn't say that he's angry. It's just that he's stuck. I guess through some immigration issues or something like that. I don't know. Is there anger? I don't know. But we've had the Tommy Gunn anger. We've had the his son being angry, and we've had now Creed or Junior being angry. This might be the kid or his redemption. Now, he wanted to call one of his Rocky films Rocky Redemption. Now, in my poll that I did on my site, I'm surprised nobody maybe brought that up. I wonder if this would be his Rocky Redemption title.
But redemption for what?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just sounds good.
This was one of our huge sticking points when we were covering Rocky 2. Was the original name for Rocky 2 was Redemption, but Rocky didn't need redemption. In Rocky 7, God help us, what the hell would he need redemption for? Like, this is Rocky's story. It's still Rocky's story. Even if he's taking a young he's taking a young fighter under his wing, it's Rocky 7, so it's a Rocky story.
Right.
What is this like?
His failed time as a father and grandfather.
Okay, that could be it. That could be it. We've seen some tumultuous times between him and his kid.
Like he's made amends with his son, but his son's already established. His son's a great father. His son's a great dad. We kind of see that already at the end of Creed 2. Spoiler: we get the feeling that he's already a great dad. He doesn't need
a successful TV star too with that hot NBC show he has.
That's right. He's everything. He was in Heroes as well. So that being said, this could be the Rocky redemption, meaning he's finally now becoming a true father figure where he failed with the son, failed with Tommy, and even in some ways failed with Creed. Like, he can now actually save somebody, truly save a family. I don't know. Like,
I mean, you're taking the difficult side of this argument. I mean,
sure, I'm happy to.
Yeah, but
you're trying to be a devil's advocate.
You know, I know that Doug mentioned that, this is probably Sly trying to keep Rocky alive and stuff, but I know there was a lot of activity in the last week or so on the Facebook page regarding other avenues they could go with the Rocky universe. And somebody posted that cartoon image of Mickey. Mm-hmm. And, there's that script that Mike Kundus talked about, Angels. Is it?
Right. Well,
Angel on my shoulder.
Okay. Before we get to that, let's just tie up the Rocky. Yeah. Let's just put a bow on the Rocky 7. We know that Stallone has said this is a story that's germinated in his mind. I got a feeling he wasn't happy with Creed 2. So if he wants to really leave his legacy, he's got Balboa Productions, he might just do Rocky 7. I think it might happen, guys. So before we tie the bow, vote. Do you think it's going to happen, whether you want it or not? Do you put money on that's going to happen? I say it's going to happen. Craig?
I say no. I think this is one of those times where he talks a lot. I think the main thing that's always prevented Rocky movies, and he battled for years to get Balboa made, was getting the money for it. Sure. Stallone's not going to put his own money up for this Rocky 7. And I think with MGM and the Creed franchise, they don't really have any incentive to go back into the full-on Rocky well. I just don't know if the money's there. And I'm not even sure that it would blow up the box office unless you got a charismatic, hot, guy to play the kid.
I will say this about the box office: if Stallone really did do this film, and if I was somehow not me, but if I let's just pretend I was part of the team that's going to finance this film, put it together, they could make a gritty family drama type film for $10 million. Hire a bunch of unknowns. Stallone takes his just actor's cut, $10 million. This thing easily makes 100 to 200 million worldwide, at least 100 million worldwide. So he makes $90 million off this film. Like, I don't think it has to be made out of a $100 million budget. No special effects, it's just a story about a kid and Rocky takes him under his wing. You could make a real heartfelt drama. A smart writer with a smart production. You don't have to have a lot of money to make these films. Even 20 million, you could still walk away with 80 million profit.
Why not just go to like Netflix or Hulu or YouTube and make a Rocky Balboa TV series?
Well,
where
now
you're able to tell that story.
let's tie the bow up here then. So, Doug, do you think it's going to happen, Doug? Whether you like it or not, do you think it's going to happen?
I don't, because I honestly thought that Stallone was very happy with the way Rocky Balboa ended.
No, you were happy.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I think he was that Rocky Balboa was his swan song, his apology for Rocky
Oh,
V.
sorry, I was thinking of the actual character in Creed 2. My apologies. You're talking about the film. My apologies.
No, yeah, no, the film Rocky Balboa. I think he was very happy and very satisfied with the way that ended. And I think to this day, oh my God, I mean, now what? Rocky Balboa is 13 years old. So maybe,
Yeah.
I say no. I say no,
Okay.
but
Okay. It's probably a safe bet. I just got this weird feeling. I don't know why. When I first heard about it, I was like, but he's been sitting on this for so long now where I wonder. Now, let's talk about, he also talked about in this Friday interview, and you brought it up, Craig, a TV series or some sort of prequel. Now, we know that he's talked about a Cobra TV series that would focus on the zombie gang or whatever. So
For every great idea, Stallone's got so many stupid effing ideas. He's like a throw shit against the wall and see what sticks type of guy.
yeah, but he's a genius because he gets that conversation, man. He knows his fan base, and he knows how rabid they are, and he knows that the Matt Marchands of the world love you, Matt, but he knows that he's going to get you guys talking,
sure,
over stuff like that. Can I chime in with the prequel series?
Yeah. Okay, so go. You broke up a little bit there. Yeah, you want to talk about the prequel series? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough there for a whole series. All right. I said I put it. I don't at this point. I don't even know which Facebook feed it was on, but I wrote that I think a prequel movie would be great. Like Gazzo pulling him towards a life of crime, with Mickey pulling him towards the life of boxing. And the struggle that Rocky feels in the middle. But I also said that I really don't think, because Rocky is such a part of Stallone, it's his alter ego. It's him. It's Stallone, that I don't think that he would give the character to another actor.
That's fair. I think when we're thinking prequel, you're right. I don't think there's enough of a story. The reason why I don't think they should do a story about Rocky being younger, not because of another actor just playing the Rocky character, but because the ending is he's a bum. There's no, like, I would say there's a happy ending. Like, the happy ending happens when Rocky 1 ends. That's the triumph, but that's already been filmed.
But that's the beauty of it, Doug. You make the prequel, and then when you re-release Rocky on an anniversary, you retitle it Rocky Redemption.
There you go.
That would be the redemption for sure. That would. And Mike Kunda's head would literally explode like an atom bomb.
No kidding. So I think if they do a prequel, there's two characters that are worthy of a prequel and that would have a story to tell, and that's the rise of Creed to the world champion, from his times in the streets, being adopted by Tony. That kind of story, that's a good story.
That's a good story.
And then, of course, Mickey, just being that little, was he a Jewish pug, having his cheeks split up and him having his own Rocky store. I had no manager. He just waddles around having no manager, and how he was like literally fighting for himself, managing himself, and how he ends up. And then the series ends with him opening up a mixed gym. You see this figure kind of walk in, you open, and it ends like that type thing.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing about that is that seems to me like come award season, that gets nominated for everything if it's made properly.
Sure.
People love that shit. And it just seems to me like that is such a slam dunk of an idea, because you'd get all the people that probably bailed on the Rocky series because it got so cartoonish. But you're like, wow, they're making a period piece about Mickey in the 1930s or whatever.
Oh yeah, perfect generation.
People eat that up
like Cinderella, man.
Yeah, and we got some great young actors
that look and that feel to it. And Mickey gave us just enough nuggets of information in one little scene in Rocky's apartment where you could create an entire movie out of it.
Agreed.
But that is the basis.
So I would vote either or an Apollo prequel or a Mickey prequel. And to be fair, I don't think even when he talked about the sequel, the prequel, I don't think he was actually just referring to Rocky. I think he might have been. That's why he doesn't say a Rocky prequel. I think, well, he says a prequel TV series, but I wonder if, I hope he's savvy enough, and I know he doesn't listen to our show, but we're not geniuses here when it comes to the arts and entertainment, but we got three brains here already just saying, look, Sylvester Stallone, the fans, we love Rocky, but I don't think we need a Rocky prequel. We need a Rocky Universe prequel. We need a Creed prequel.
Yeah.
And we need or a Mickey prequel. And you can hint at, what's to come, because we all know the Rocky character, just like a little nugget, like they bump into a young Paulie or a young Rocky. That'd be cool. Like a boyhood Rocky. That'd be cool. But we don't need to see Rocky work in the docks. That's going to get boring very quick. It's like, okay, he broke some thumbs and Gazzo, likes Rocky. Like, what are you going to, like, you turn it into a Sopranos type thing? Like,
I just had a little bit of a thought, and I mean, this just came to me, and it kind of, all right, you want to talk about a series? Let me know if you guys think this would work. Probably not, because the characters might not meet in the end. But you know how The Godfather Part 2 had Don Corleone in Old Italy, kind of coinciding with the present day telling of the story. What if there was an old, 1920s version of Mickey coming up and showing, a 1960s version of Apollo Creed in the same, kind of coinciding with one another.
So like Godfather 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, in Godfather 2, the story kind of connected, in itself. I don't know how Mickey and Creed would connect.
I know how you can make it connect. You could have, because Mickey's always training somebody. Yeah, I got some contenders here. I'm working on some real prospects here, Rock. He could have one of his guys that he trained fight Creed on Creed's rise to the top, and of course the guy loses. And you see some of these Mickeys, you did good, kid, you did good. This guy seems to be something that's Apollo Creed. But you get that, right? Because even Mickey totally respected Creed. Like, you never sense that Mickey. Remember when he's in the ring, he's like, yeah, he's talking to you, kid. Yeah, he's talking to you. Like, he liked Creed. He didn't like. Yeah. He didn't like Clubber. You're disgraced to this sport.
You do a much better Mickey than you do Rocky, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So I think you can make something work like that, where you can almost have a prequel with Creed in his adult years rising to top, fighting his rivals, and one of those rivals could be a trained person by Mickey.
Okay. That's a good idea. It's not as good as I think most people would really want to see, the rise to the street corner of the street corner singer that Frank Stallone plays, and how he ended up on that corner singing into that dumpster.
You think he was a club singer at one point?
Hey, Doug, you're already building a compelling story there.
You guys are sounding better every year.
All right, so all of these ideas, including the Frank Stallone corner singer, can be a Balboa production. So Stallone can still do his, make his money off the Rocky name, right? Can this, or would he have to buy? Would he have to buy the rights off of MGM? Or
I wonder. That's a good question. Like, do they own all the rights? Like, anything associated with the Rocky character? Like, probably to a degree, but like I said, like, how much would a 6-part series on Netflix cost to do Mickey Goldmill? Yeah. Like, just call it Mickey Gold, or just call it Mickey, but and everyone would know.
Call it Goldmill. We talked about this. I mean, you have Balboa, you have Creed, Goldmill.
Perfect.
It might not play as well because there's still a lot of anti-Semitic people out there. Maybe you go Mickey, but then Disney might have an issue with that.
I love how they just made.
I'm serious.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You're right.
And I don't know. I can't imagine a well-written Mickey prequel would be. I think Rocky fans. Well, we saw the response. So that picture that I posted on the Rocky franchise Facebook page was drawn by a listener that I have. He doesn't have a Facebook page, so I told him it's really frustrating that I can't credit him for the picture, but he's on Twitter. And his Twitter account is hard to pronounce, but I actually think he just liked this post that we did right now.
It's making
the
the
Twitter
rounds. It's hit Mighty Mix like 2 or 3 separate times now.
Yeah, and that's what's funny is I told him that too. I said, dude, just so you know, or going to profile. His name is, because he liked the tweet we just did. Where is it? His name is. It's like some Indian name. I don't mean it like a native name or something like that. It's weird. I don't mean that in a bad way. I just can't memorize it. All right, here it is. Yeah, it's Tiawan Sante Thomas Deere, and he's a comic book colorist and illustrator with IDW Publishing. So yeah, he's a boxing enthusiast, and his cultural liaison to this Kanaka. So it sounds like, First Nations if he's Canadian, or what do you guys call them in the States? I mean this with all respect, because we call them First Nations people here.
Native Americans, or
is that what you? I mean, I honestly don't know. Is that what you refer to them as? Native Americans?
I believe, unless
you're not
talking about. No longer.
I think in Canada, it's weird that we consider the word native kind of like almost like saying savage.
Hmm.
I don't know.
He's like a first world American?
Yeah,
I
think he is.
They don't call them Indians anymore, but because Indians are from India.
That's right.
Yeah, Native Americans are.
And if I'm wrong, because I know he listens to the show, Thomas Deere. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But with your name, Thomas Deere, and the name next to it, so he's an incredible artist. And I told him on Twitter through the direct message, "Hey, dude, just so you know, I posted your picture with his permission on Facebook." And I said, "Just so you know, it's blowing up." He's like, "That's awesome." He just doesn't have a Facebook account, so I couldn't tag him that. So I just want to give him proper credit. So that was his cover idea. Yeah.
No, it's awesome. And I got to say, Ryan, that I'm not sure if we've talked about it on or off air, but Cobra Kai has had 2 incredibly well-received seasons on YouTube Premium. And I just can't see a project like the Mickey Goldmill story not generating that kind of excitement with people. It just seems to me, if I'm investing money, and I have all these options in front of me, including a Creed 3, I'm going all in on the Mickey Goldmill project.
Absolutely. I agree. I think we got 3 Stallone Rocky fanatics here, and I think we're unanimous, like heartily unanimous on a Mickey prequel.
Mm-hmm. Like excitedly. If only he was talking as much about that as he is about Rocky goddamn 7.
Doug.
It sounds absurd even saying it, Doug. Like
I mean, but there are people that are excited about it, Craig. That's what it hurts me a little bit that there are fans out there that are really excited about it because they're that desperate to see more Rocky.
And here's the problem: is people are already referring to it as Rocky 7, which is interesting because people were referring to Creed Part 1 as Rocky 7 and Creed 2 as Rocky 8. But now people are almost having to pick. Do we pick a Creed 3 without Rocky or Stallone's involvement, or do we pick a Rocky 7? Like, which one would you rather have then, Doug? A Creed 3 without Stallone in it, maybe a 2-minute cameo, or a Rocky 7?
I'd rather a Creed 3 with no Rocky.
Okay.
It's.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Doug.
No, I want to. Michael B. Jordan wants Creed. He wants the franchise. Give it to him. Fine. Go ahead. Take it. It's yours. Rocky's not going to be a part of it.
But you know what's going on here, Ryan? Like, how hard would it be for Stallone to make this south of the border story he wants to make, but without Rocky? Do what you did with Grudge Match. You can make him an aged fighter or whatever. You don't have to call him Rocky. He can be, just like Grudge Match, and I mean, Stallone's able to tell the story he wants. It's not a Rocky film, so he doesn't have to get blessings from anybody to use the character. And he's able to make something that I think people would also maybe take more seriously than a Rocky 7, because no matter how we slice it, the days of anything with Rocky and it getting any kind of awards consideration are done. Those died with his Oscar nomination that failed. In
Absolutely.
Creed. But
Well,
if you
yeah,
come out of the gate with a fresh character, and that story, that's something that could probably get awards consideration and could be looked at as more of a serious film than something called Rocky VII.
That's fair. No, that's very fair. And I was just thinking he could do the same storyline about finding a stranded youth who, with the immigration issues, is very timely that you guys have this in the States. Tackling a very political issue, which is not a bad thing to do. That's what art is for. Art is, whether you agree with the issue or not, art is for tackling the issues of the day, whether they're political or economical or what have you, religious issues of the day. And he could tackle this story of immigration with an aged man who has a failed family who somehow takes a child under his, or a young man under his wing and helps him. That's not Rocky, and it could be something that he's a triathlete or something. Who knows? Whatever it is that bonds them, it could be whatever subject. So it doesn't have to be boxing. You're right. Then it's just a story that he has that has nothing to do with Rocky or boxing, but that story of immigration and redemption or whatever can still happen in this film.
Well,
I'd pay money to see that opening day.
Sure.
Another question I had was: is he trying to appeal to a whole new audience now, like with this liberal viewpoint? You know, tackling subject matter. Is he looking for like a new audience? Another question.
No.
These keep coming to me. Who do you think? Who do you think rules the Rockyverse at the fan base? Do you think it's purists like ourselves and our co-hosts, Mike Kunda, or do you think it's the people that are really eager to see more Rocky no matter what? Like, who's the bigger fan base?
Well, I did a poll, and it's not scientific at all. It's only with my people on Facebook on the Rocky Series podcast page. Go check it out.
4,000 followers.
Yeah.
Who know you're a podcast?
Yeah, none of them know I'm a podcast. And I asked, what would you rather see get made? And I said, keep in mind, Stallone is done with the Creed franchise. No, that's speculation, but I'm just making that as the rule. So if Stallone wasn't in Creed 3, what would you rather see, a Rocky 7 or Creed 3? And 70% of 300 people that voted, that's a pretty good chunk of, public, they would rather have a Rocky 7 with Sly than a Creed 3 with no Sly. So that answers your question. The audience, now you could probably argue it's a sample. So we got at least 2/3 of Stallone fans love the Rocky character so much they don't care if it's south of the border. It has nothing to do with the Creed story. They just want to see Rocky again. Let's just do it. That's their response.
They're idiots.
Well,
I'm kidding.
And to speak to Doug's question, I don't think you're generating any new fans. If anything, you're going to confuse the hell out of Creed fans. And we've already established that there's people out there that have seen Creed 1 and 2 and have never seen and have no interest in seeing any of the Rocky movies. Rocky 7, there's such a stigma attached to that name. And this gets back to just rebranding the script or the idea with a character not named Rocky.
Well, that's why it's not going to be called Rocky 7. That's why Rocky Balboa was not called. There's a reason why it's not called Rocky 6.
But either way, we're talking, unfortunately, about the law of diminishing returns here. It happens as fan bases age. Look at, Star Trek. They made 3 movies with a new cast, where they did Kirk and Spock and the whole bit, and each movie, those weren't huge, Marvel-sized blockbusters. They did okay. Right. And, if they made a 4th one, it would make less. And unfortunately, as franchises age, unless they're red hot, like Star Wars, which hasn't cooled off yet, or the Marvel movies, which haven't cooled off yet, it's the law of diminishing returns. And you could argue that the law of diminishing returns has been in play since Rocky IV for that character.
No, Go ahead.
I also feel like this too, Craig, that you mentioned Star Wars. Star Wars didn't I don't think they expected to get new fans when they release Rogue One. You're really appealing to all your former Star Wars fans that have been with you the whole time.
There's a lot more of them, though, Doug.
What's that? New
More
fans
Star
or
Wars fans out there than Rocky fans?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
totally
Well,
are.
yeah, we're not.
Let's say he can't make Rocky 7 trying to get a new fan base.
No, he's not. I don't think that's. I think he got a new fan base from Creed. I think he got additional fans from the Creed films, and there's certainly a demographic. We know the demographic that the Creed films, they never watched the Rocky films, and they did a younger demographic too. I'm not just getting at the cultural demographic; it's also a younger demographic. Because I saw it on Twitter feed when they both came out, people were saying, like, I just do hashtag searches of the Creed films. People were saying, "Oh, I really love Creed too. I'm going to go check out the Rocky films." So people literally watched Rocky because of the Creed films.
Because of Creed, but nobody's.
But you're right.
Go
You're right. Rocky 7, it's not going to. No one's going to go see. Maybe like 5 people, but the Rocky 7 would be your Rogue One type film. It's for the fans. It's
for the fans, God, I think most of the fans don't want it.
And to be fair to you, Rogue One is my least favorite Star Wars.
Least favorite.
Yes,
I thought it was fantastic.
It was boring.
You like Solo better?
Say again.
You like Solo better?
I do. Absolutely. It was a fun romp. Solo was fun. It was a fun film. I enjoyed it, and Rogue One was boring. And when they all died at the end, I cheered.
Spoiler alert, man. Come on.
For the record, I like Solo and Rogue One.
It was well done. Like, don't get me wrong, it's not a Star Wars podcast, but the Rogue One, it was well done. Acting was good. The set pieces, everything looked great. It felt and looked like, and of course the big Vader fight scene. But that 3-minute Vader destruction scene was the best part of a film. What does that tell you? That's the highlight of the film. 2.5 hours in, it's like, okay, I would.
Fair enough. Duly noted.
Yeah. So, but Solo was fun, and I'm legitimately disappointed. Legitimately disappointed that it didn't do as well as it should have to garner a sequel, because I really wanted to see the sequel of the early days of Solo.
And this could be a lesson. This could be a lesson for Stallone and MGM, because we were talking about Stallone's ego not allowing him to have somebody else play Rocky.
Mm-hmm.
But look what happened when they tried to replace Harrison Ford, one of the most charismatic actors of that generation. A lot of people didn't go to see it just because they didn't buy that guy as Solo. And I think
it's too bad, because he did a good job.
Well, I think Doug's point is really good, though. I mean, if you even start having those discussions, who the heck plays the young Rocky? Like,
I was gonna say a joke. I'll tell you after. But I don't know. It's I think we're gonna get a Rocky 7, ironically, and I don't think we're gonna get a Mickey prequel.
That's crimes on both fronts.
Because I think it's just easier at the end of the day for Sly to pump out a Rocky 7 hour and a half than to do some sort of investment of a 6-part miniseries of the Mickey character.
Don't do a miniseries then. Don't do a miniseries.
Well, even a 2-hour movie, I mean, they could do it. They could easily do it. I just don't see that getting financed. I just don't, guys. Unless it was on something like Stars or Netflix or Hulu.
I think that's his best shot of taking the Rocky franchise back into his own hands and doing it the way he wants to do it.
He says he's doing a prequel. Like, if we're going to give just as much credit to the Rocky 7 talk, I'm just saying, he did also say that he wants to do a Rocky prequel. Now, whether that's Mickey, we don't know. So he maybe, for all we know, he's waiting for these types of discussions to come forward to see what do people want.
God, I just had another scary thought. Him de-aging himself as a Rocky character.
I don't think we have. I don't.
Did you see Sam Jackson in Captain Marvel? I mean,
no, I didn't watch Captain Marvel.
Do you think it could work? Do you think it could work?
It looked like Sam Jackson in the 90s. I mean,
oh man,
they could yes, but that's just a lot of extra money. But they could de-age him, sure. And they've talked about that for years. Well, they've done it. Well, they've done it with Sam Jackson. They did Robert Downey Jr. They've done. We talked about it on I think on our podcast with you guys. We talked about that, the de-aging process. Well, there was a rumor. There was a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
They used it in Grudge Match.
Yeah, terribly so, but they did do it.
It was the early stages of de-aging.
Yes. It was a lack of the ability more than. But I heard a rumor that they were supposed to do de-aging for Creed 2. That there was going to be some Apollo de-aging. Yeah. So I'm wondering if that Genesis story that Stallone did have was something he's maybe pocketing for a prequel.
You know, prequels are all the rage now. Just do a really well done prequel. Do Creed, do Mickey, just do it. Just do something
Frank
good.
Stallone Street Corner Singer.
Do the Street Corner Singers, like the whole group, or just Frank?
Well, the sequel could be the group. Maybe you do the Frank solo, and then you make it like the Avengers.
We could, yeah.
Maybe everybody gets a solo movie, and then they unite in the fourth film.
The Avengers, nice.
We could see who was the first person to light the barrel on fire. Like we could see like who rolled out the barrel, who put it there,
right?
You know, who keeps the flame going. The Frank Stallone fire barrel made the flame never die.
Now his fire keeps going out, but then some guy comes along with a can of lighter fluid. It's like, this is all you need, and then it's a match made in heaven.
Imagine a Polly prequel. It's just him drinking and yelling, just kicking the crap out of Adrian. Okay, well, there was something. I think there was something else. Well, that was the gist of the news, and was his. I'm surprised he called out the producers the way he did.
You know what though? Like when you watch Hobbs and Shaw when it comes out in a week, if you're gonna go see it, at the beginning it's gonna say based on characters created by whoever wrote the first Fast and the Furious movie. That guy doesn't have any. He doesn't have any control over whether or not they make Hobbs and Shaw. I'm sure he gets a script or gets a check for being the guy that created that universe, but he has no say in it. And you know, we can get into a whole debate about creators' rights and stuff, but you know, Hollywood is Hollywood, and you know, what studio is really going to invest in a property that they don't have control of? You know, like John Carpenter doesn't even have control of Halloween. He wrote and directed that. He created it. They made 8 million Halloween sequels. John Carpenter didn't care. He got a check every time they made one of them. Mm-hmm. John Carpenter seems to be the go-to guy in terms of how to respond to Hollywood constantly reusing your ideas.
Right. No,
he's like, hey,
he's probably frustrated. He's probably frustrated by it too. Like,
but I don't want to say it's Stallone's ego here, because I really feel like he has an insane connection to Rocky.
Oh, most definitely.
And that's what it is. It's he can't let go of that.
Yeah. But the funny thing about it is every party involved needs each other. So like we said, you know, Stallone can't make a Rocky movie without MGM, and MGM can't make a Rocky movie without Stallone. So it's like the alternative is nothing, or Creed. Right. But we've already sort of established that Creed isn't a Rocky movie. So it's this weird, you know, standoff.
Well, we've heard from a good source, we'll keep the source anonymous, that Creed 3 has already been greenlit by the studio.
It would be really perplexing if it wasn't, you know, because again, Creed and Creed 2 made money for the studio. That's why movies are made. At the end of the day,
of course, it's a business. It's not art, guys. It's a business.
Yeah. So they make a third one. It'll make money.
It will.
Which I said, Craig, when I did my bit on Slycast with you, is a mistake to make a Creed 3, because Creed 2 was wrapped up so nicely with all, you know, the closure on Drago's, the Balboas, and the Creeds. So, well, and where are you going to go from there?
Well, and the other thing is, you need Stallone, even if he's not in one frame of the movie. You still need his creative input, and that's something that Creed and Creed 2 had.
I have a feeling that somebody doesn't want any Stallone input.
What? Who?
MJ.
Yeah. Okay, so
I just have a
Yeah.
feeling.
I think Michael B, last name to remain anonymous. He would love it if Rocky wasn't in Creed 3. I think he'd love to take his or try his hand at carrying a big motion picture on his own.
Go for
Sure,
it.
knock your socks off.
Yeah.
So from Stallone's mouth, the interviewer said here, I heard that you want to do a Rocky prequel for TV and that Erwin Winkler has other ideas. Any truth to that? And Stallone says here, there was some conflict there, yes. He felt in his mind that Rocky was primarily a feature film, and he didn't see it as being translated for cable, so there's a big bone of contention. So it kind of does sound like a Rocky prequel. And then the interviewer says, any possibility that Rocky would reappear on the big screen someday with you in the role? And then Stallone says, there is a good chance that Rocky may ride again.
It's not shocking that a movie producer would say, I don't see a movie I've produced working in a non-theatrical environment.
Well, yeah, but if they, I know what you're saying, and I get that, but why can't the Winklers just produce a TV show? Is that against the rules?
No.
Yeah.
No, but again, a series based around Rocky. I don't know what kind of, what are you going to try to get 3 seasons, 4 seasons out of a Rocky series, or is it like a mini series, like a 10-parter, like you did with Making a Murderer, something like that?
Either way, that sounds more exciting. It sounds more promising. And I mean, one thing that Stallone's always been good at is sort of being innovative. He's never been afraid of doing things, Rhinestone, for example, that on paper, look like disasters and turn out to be mini disasters. So it just seems to me that you wouldn't want to bet on Sly executing stuff in a different medium than he's used to. That's Stallone's biggest strength, in my opinion, is constantly proving people wrong.
Yeah.
And I would love it if he proved me and you wrong, Doug.
Well, he proved me wrong with Creed 1 and 2.
Exactly.
I was totally skeptical of Creed Part 1. Less so for Creed 2 because Creed 1 did so well, ironically. But when Creed 1 was announced and done, I was like, that was the first time in my life with the Rocky character where I was like, oh no, what have we done? Proven wrong. Yeah, no, like when it was announced, I admit I was like, before the podcast, because this is 2015, 2014 when it was announced. Came out in 2015. I remember thinking, as a lifelong Rocky and Stallone fan, I was like, "Oh, Sly, then you've dipped it too many times in this well." And that was me. So, ironically, Creed 2 didn't prove me wrong, but it proved me wrong regarding the Creed franchise. And then I don't know, like maybe he's just got this fourth life in him, guys. I don't know. I would say if Rocky 7 gets made, you'll see it, and you probably will be surprised because you're so anxious for it not to get made. I wonder, in a weird way, if you're not resentment, but if you're resistant to it, that that might be a good thing because you might end up liking it.
Then we can listen back to this podcast and see how wrong we all were.
And I'll have to do another 100+ episodes on another goddamn Rocky movie.
Yep.
Good or bad.
But that brings me to another point, Ryan, and I know we're probably trying to wrap up here.
Sure, we'll wrap up soon, yeah.
The most frustrating thing here to me is we've talked on Slycast before, we've talked on this show before about the opportunities that Stallone didn't pursue. And especially post-Creed, it seemed like the gate was wide open for him to walk through and go into another phase of his acting career. And the thing that really disappoints me the most about all of this Rocky talk is it puts all that stuff on the back burner of stuff that we could still see. The Edgar Allan Poe movie he's been talking about since the 70s. There's a movie around the mafia that he's been attached to.
Yeah.
I think there's a bank robbery movie or something. So it's like I've always been disappointed that we don't get to see that stuff. And all of this Rocky talk, all but guarantees we won't see this kind of stuff. So that's the thing that's really disappointing to me, because he's had opportunities before, and he's let them go. And I don't know, just to see him staying in the shallow end of the pool, if you will, it's just disappointing as a fan of as a creative force.
Can I play a little bit of a devil's advocate?
Please.
For again, apologist for the side of Stallone. I agree with what you're saying, because at the end of the day, he's an actor by profession, right? So actors by profession, we kind of have this idea that everyone should be like Leonardo DiCaprio or Brad Pitt or the early days of Robert De Niro, in the sense that they can channel or do a whole bunch of different roles. I get that, and I understand the profession of an actor. The more vast their library of experience, the more incredible this actor might be. Stallone just might not have that range, and it's just like a musical artist might not have that range. It's okay to play a certain style of music. That's why there's genres of music. It's funny how we don't, ironically, we criticize musical artists who step out of their musical genre. And it's like, oh, I can't believe that band, Metallica. I can't believe they sold out and played to a larger public. Like, we get mad at bands for changing their appearance, and then we get mad at actors and actresses for staying within their realm.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I think if you can accept the fact that it's just art and it's just a talent, Stallone's talent was he created a character that has a story to tell, and that story is ironically Stallone's life through art, through this character, and that's his album of artwork. I mean, that's his discography, is the Rocky and Rambo characters, and that's more than I've ever given the world. And it's just, I'm not apologizing for him, but I mean, we're not going to get Carpa. I don't think we're not going to get Edgar Allan Poe out of him, but he's created Balboa Studios out of with his ambition for that is to give filmmakers advice and chances that he missed out on. I think he said that in one of the interviews I saw. That's kind of what the design is to actually steer other filmmakers away from the trouble that he had.
If only we would have seen him and Arnold in Face Off.
Was that one of the discussions?
That was one of the original ideas.
Oh wow. So that's my closing thoughts, is that maybe we just have to accept that that's what Stallone has given, and he's going back to that well, because his years are ending, guys. Like, are we going to be talking about Stallone in 15 years making projects? And that goes by fast.
We've talked about that on this show, even that, it's very possible, knowing the longevity of the genetic pool that he's derived from. Both his parents are still alive.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. His mom's still alive. It's crazy.
Oh no, his dad died a couple of years ago, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. His mom's well into her 90s now, right?
Yeah.
Well into her 90s.
So I'm sure this is going to be a polarizing episode, and I can't wait to see the online response to it. And this is just our opinion, folks.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, all three of us, love the creative force that is Sylvester Stallone, and but we're fans too, and every fan has their own sort of hopes and dreams for certain characters that the people, the creative forces we love. So again, it's just our opinion, guys. So
yeah, it's fan talk. Just like Star Wars nerds nerd out about Star Wars, get mad about Star Wars decisions, and Marvel people get mad that certain movies are made the way they are. So yeah, that's all it is. We love Sly, we love his movies, but fans have a voice, and we at the end of the day, we actually don't want Sylvester Stallone to embarrass himself. I think that's what our fear is that his legacy might be tarnished by Rocky VII is our new Rocky V. Now we hate something more. So
listen, I also want to say we're by no means any kind of authority on anything. We could just be three buddies in a room having this exact discussion as Stallone fans. We just happen to have podcasts and microphones in front of us. Yeah. If you guys disagree or you want to, let us know what you think, please. We're open to any and all criticism.
Absolutely. Well, we'll close up the show with this. Has been a fun discussion. if we get further Stallone news, it's kind of groundbreaking. I think we should do this roundtable again and add it to
Totally.
our Stallone Podcast Network. I'm Ryan from the Going the Distance, the Rocky Series podcast, and also the Worst of the Best podcast. You can find those on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, just Google it, and you'll see the feeds are available on all podcast apps. And go ahead, Doug, say who you are.
Yeah, Doug from Rocky Minute. We cover the Rocky movies, 1 minute of screen time at a time in order, all 100 plus minutes of every movie, or 90 plus or 80 plus, depending on which movie you're talking about. But yeah, just like Ryan, you can find us on any podcatcher, just or Google Rocky Minute, and you will find us.
And Craig, tell us what we can expect Judge Dredd.
Oh, you mother effer. I'm with the Slycast, and we have a pretty impressive archive of 90 plus minute episodes devoted to chronologically exploring Sly's filmography. And as Ryan alluded to, we have Judge Dredd on deck. It's an hour, 45 plus minute discussion. And if anybody wants to offer to edit that, please let me know, because that's what's holding it up.
Just throw it up as is.
Oh, man, I'm just such a perfectionist. I can't allow it.
So I will say for the podcast feed, at least on For Going the Distance, when you guys are hearing this, this will come out very, very, very soon. I'm going to do very little editing with this. I think we gave a pretty good discussion where we don't have to edit it too much. And for the Expendables 2 review, it's being edited right now. Like Craig was saying, it takes a lot of effort to edit these things. So this will probably be released on our podcast feeds this weekend very soon. If you guys are okay with it, just release it as it is.
Yeah.
And so the Expendables 2 audio review, which a lot of our listeners actually prefer, it's coming out. So stand by for that, guys. All right.
Cool. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Night.